Bitte.
Ja, herzlich willkommen zum Webinar, das wir heute geplant haben von der INTAS gemeinsam mit unseren Kollegen von der IBM zu einem aus unserer Sicht sehr spannenden und auch grundlegenden Thema, nämlich Digital Asset Custody. Grundlegend insbesondere deshalb, weil es am Ende als Backbone nahezu für jede Form der digitalen Asset-Strategie dient und einer entsprechenden Lösung bedarf. Wir starten die Runde mit einer kleinen Vorstellung der Teilnehmer hier auf unserer Seite. Ich heiße Volker Braunberger, bin Geschäftsführer, CEO der INTAS.tech. Ein Satz zur INTAS. Ich weiß nicht genau, wer auf der anderen Seite sitzt, ist bei diesen Webinaren natürlich immer schwierig. Die meisten werden es eventuell schon kennen. Wir sind recht neu am Markt, aber haben trotz alledem aufgrund unserer Gesellschafter Plutonio Consulting und Frankfurt School einen relativ langjährigen Track Record. Die INTAS.tech fokussiert mit ihrem Beratungsansatz ganz klar auf die Unterstützung von Finanzinstituten beim Aufsatz von Digital Asset Strategien, bei denen eben Blockchain, DLT, aber auch künstliche Intelligenz und andere Digitalisierungsthemen ein Kernthema sind und eben halt auch gerade, wenn es darum geht, neue Assetklassen einzuführen, eben auch Kryptowerte immer stärker ein Thema werden, was uns dann auch zu dem Thema Digital Asset Custody führt. Mit mir im Call ist mein Kollege, der Herr Schaub. Benjamin, wenn du dich ganz kurz vorstellen würdest, dann die beiden Kollegen, Herr Deschler und Herr Schwanzara von der IBM, und dann würden wir einen kurzen Einleitungspart machen, wie wir grundsätzlich Digital Asset Custody verstehen. Und dann würden die Kollegen von der IBM ihre interessante Lösung von der technologischen Seite beleuchten. Benjamin, bitte.
Yes, thank you, Volker. I think we have to switch to English. So this was our German introduction.
Okay.
But no problem at all.
Good to know. Sorry for that.
No problem. So as Volker said, we are working for INTAS.tech, which is a blockchain consulting firm focusing on the handling and integration of digital assets and on crypto assets. So currently we are working on a lot of use cases in Germany regarding the Electronic Securities Act, the Fund Jurisdiction Act, and also part of our work is the tokenization of fund units. My name is Benjamin Schaub. I'm a senior consultant at INTAS.tech. And yes, with this, I would say I turn over to our colleagues from IBM, and afterwards we will kick in with our presentation.
Thank you, Benjamin. My name is Volker Deschler from IBM Consulting. I have been working for nearly 25 years now in the financial markets industry. My focus is to apply new technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain to financial markets processes. And as an IBM, we have a strong history in information security and cryptology. And together with some leading edge research capabilities, we are convinced that we have a good footprint and solutions to design, implement, and run what we call enterprise-grade digital asset infrastructure. And we will learn afterwards what does enterprise-grade mean.
My name is Florian Schwanzara. I'm also from IBM Germany. I'm an enterprise IT architect and currently focusing heavily on fintech startups with my background of nearly 20 years in IBM security, also for confidential computing and the underlying hardware concepts like IBM Linux One. That is my core play that I work on, and that's where I help my customers at IBM.
Perfect, thank you. Then we will start with our presentation. So when we talk about crypto custody, it is first of all important to emphasize the importance of it, because as this slide illustrates, it doesn't really matter from which angle you look at blockchain use cases in the financial sector. At some point, you will require crypto custody. It's as simple as that. And what we're trying to emphasize to our clients who are approaching us in various stages of their blockchain thoughts is that if you're not certain which is the right use case for you right now, but you understood that blockchain is here and will stay, it makes a lot of sense to start with custody and to really deepen your knowledge in this regard, because you will definitely need it at some point in time. And as you can see here, whether your strengths lie in the asset classes or you are trying to enter and looking at certain assets, for example, crypto assets or other assets like maybe NFTs right now, you will at the end require custody. Also, if you come from the process perspective or from the value chain focus, where, for example, you have your capabilities right now and say, okay, I'm strong, or I'm very interested in the tokenization of assets, then this will not work without having a custody solution. And this does not mean that you have to create your own one. You can use technology providers for this, but it's very important to understand that there are big differences in technologies that can be applied for crypto custody, and they will have an influence on your business model, on your business approach later on. So as I said, it is very important to engage with this technology and with this part of the value chain early on. And why is it important? It is important because when we talk about blockchain assets or digital assets or crypto assets, what they all have in common is that they require a wallet infrastructure. And this is very important to understand because, of course, right now, a lot of people are talking about crypto and, for example, tokenized securities or tokenized fund units. They are not that common right now, but this will change over the next years. And what they all have in common is that they rely on the wallet infrastructure. And this means what you require, therefore, is a public key and a private key. And the public key is a key, as the name already suggests, which you can and need to share if you want to receive some funds. And the private key is something that has to stay with you, has to stay secret, because in a decentral world, owning the private key means that you own the asset in a wallet, or you can control the asset. And this is especially a problem when we speak about crypto currencies or crypto assets, because there we don't have any central authority who can then take care of a problem. So, for example, a lot of hacks happened in the crypto space, and there always was the problem that someone stole a private key or private keys, and then you have no possibility at all to get this asset back because there's simply no central authority which can help you with this regards. And this is why it is that crucial that these private keys are really in a safe environment, because we also see that a lot of crypto holders in the crypto space, they are taking care of this themselves because there are devices which allow you to store your keys yourself. But when we talk about solutions for financial institutions, this is not really a solution that will fit. And therefore, you have to rely on a technology which protects the private keys. So before we talk about certain solutions or vendors in the market, let's first look at some of the possibilities that you could choose in the market. And from our side, a simplified view of the market is we separate the market in basically 3 categories. On the one hand side, we have cold storage solutions. This means these are storage solutions where the device is disconnected from the internet. Could be, for example, on a USB stick. Then we have what we call warm storage solutions. Those are solutions on hardware security modules. This is also a technology which our colleagues from IBM Consulting will show later on. And what hardware security modules bring to the table is that they are very secure because, as the name suggests, this is hardware, and this hardware takes care of the whole key generation management process at all. So there is no manual influence in it. And this is very important. Our colleagues will highlight some aspects of why this is so important, that no manual intervention can be done here. And this separates this approach, for example, from the cold storage solutions, where at some point you have, or you might have, a manual intervention where someone has to bring the key online, so to say. And then quite new in the market, or newer than the other solutions, is the so-called MPC approach, which stands for multi-party computation. And with multi-party computations, the keys, or the key itself, is pretty much splitted into several shares and then generated in a decentral way. And this removes the single point of failure in the whole key management process. So when we look at it, and as I said, this is a simplified comparison of those solutions to get a feeling what they stand for, then it's fair to say that all of these solutions are in the market right now, and this is definitely good for the market, because they encourage certain use cases. For example, cold storage is one of the solutions which is very much used in the space so far. It is, all of those solutions are very secure, but they bring, for example, certain levels of complexity with them. So cold storage, as I said, could be potentially that your keys are stored on a stick and the stick remains in a vault. So this is not really complex from the technology perspective. You might have complexities or processes how the key is then getting online so that you can move your asset. But from the technological perspective, this is quite easy to take. And then when we talk about hardware security modules and multi-party computation, this is from the technology perspective definitely more advanced and just tougher to handle. So this is nothing that institutions can do from scratch of their own. There needs to be at least a vendor who provides technology and or knowledge. And this counts especially true, or is especially true for multi-party computation, because this mathematical procedure is that complex that only a few people in the world really truly understand what is happening behind the scenes. Then other different aspects here when we talk about crypto custody is, for example, the flexibility regarding new protocols. This means that, for example, Bitcoin relies on the hash function SHA-256, and the keys are generated accordingly to this hash function. But other cryptocurrencies or maybe future tokens will or might have other hash functions or cryptographic functions behind that, and your tech stack has to be able to provide this. So, for example, when we talk about hardware security modules, as I said, this is hardware, and the software is getting deployed at the beginning of the production. And if those hardware security modules then are, let's say, fit for Bitcoin and Ethereum, they might not be fit for another cryptocurrency with another cryptographic function. So these hardware security modules would then have to be updated. And this is a problem. If your hardware security module is just not ready for it, our colleagues as well at IBM, they have a solution here as well. But imagine you're running a solution on this technology, and you have to update maybe dozens of modules while they are running. So this can be a huge problem also. And regarding the flexibility, we see clear advantages for multi-party computation, because this is a software-based approach where it will be easier, or it is easier to add more functions during the process and over the next years. Then when we talk about scalability, we think when we really talk about crypto adoption or the adoption of digital assets as such, we don't necessarily see that cold storage will be very scalable. It might have its use cases, for example, for people who, on the one hand, really believe that this is secure, and it is secure, and then maybe don't need their keys frequently because they have a buy and hold approach, for example. And regarding the scalability of hardware security modules, there might be problems depending on the number of users you want to onboard and the number of transactions. This is something where hardware has to scale as well. But so it is very important here to look if this is a solution for you, to look at where are the hardware security modules built, what are their features, because it might turn into a problem in only a few years, and then you would have really you would have to change your crypto custody solution potentially, or you would have to deploy a new hardware, and this also brings additional costs with it. And regarding the scalability, we also see advantages here regarding multi-party computation, because again, as this is a software approach, you are able to handle a lot of users. And what we can observe in the market is that especially the biggest institution in the markets are really looking into the multi-party computation sector. And because they really think about scaling their business, and this means scaling in the way of many new users and also transacting a lot of transactions. When we talk about the execution speed, what we want to highlight here is that execution speed with pure cold storage is just slow, because as I said, there will be some process involved where someone has to bring the key online. This might take hours potentially, not necessarily, but this is just not a solution where you can easily and quickly move your assets on the blockchain, in the blockchain world. And we see warm storage here and multi-party computation on a level playing field. But again, regarding the larger institutions, it looks like multi-party computation could also have its advantages here, because if you want to scale the speed of executions at some points, deploying hardware, you might also need newer devices, better devices, and so on. But what is also important here is that, as I said, the track record for cold storage is by far the largest in the crypto world. So this is really an approach that has been used in the last couple of years. And this is why people trust it, because also they understand it. They simply understand that the keys are stored on a device which is not connected to the internet. Hardware security modules, they are well known among financial institutions, which brings definitely advantages here, because those institutions know how to handle it. And when we talk about multi-party computation, as is being said, this is a very new approach in the crypto space, and therefore it is hard to understand, definitely. And therefore there might be companies who might be a bit afraid of it, because it is about the trust where you put really the keys, because the keys are your assets. So it is just important to mention that this is the newest approach that can be observed. Then maybe a few words about the crypto custody providers that are out there. So it is important, first of all, to separate maybe providers on the right-hand side, like Tangany, Finoa, and Coinbase, because, for example, Tangany and Coinbase, they are in Germany crypto custodians, so they are licensed via BaFin. Finoa is going for this license as well. And on the other hand side, on the left-hand side, you see technology providers. So this will be providers who enable you to safekeep your private keys and to manage them. But you will have then, for example, as a financial institution, get your own license for that. And what is very interesting from our point of view is that one could observe that last year, for example, PayPal acquired Curve. Curve is a multi-computation provider. Then we have now the statement from Coinbase that they are willing to buy Unbound, which is also a multi-party computation provider. And we could observe also that the Bank of New York Mellon invested into Fireblocks. So this is where we can see that really huge institutions who might then potentially have a lot of transactions on their platform are looking for multi-party computations, and also providers like Fireblocks or Metaco, for example, they are trying to provide a broader scope of services. This means that when you decide for either of them, you can then also decide how you would like to store your private keys. So while Fireblocks, for example, is a provider for multi-party computation, you could also then decide to store your keys on a hardware security module, for example. So one can definitely observe, this counts for Fireblocks and Metaco, that those providers try to offer a lot of solutions out of one place, because as I was trying to show on the slide before, it is for many institutions right now a bit difficult to really choose one solution and then being maybe locked in with this. We can definitely say that financial institutions, they would like to be flexible, and such providers allow it. And also IBM on this slide, our colleagues will present it soon. They provide the highest ranked hardware security modules, or the highest level of them, and have also a cloud solution for their clients available, which is quite flexible regarding the creation and management of private keys. So then, as a last slide before we turn over to our colleagues, whenever financial institutions think about crypto custody, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and they should be answered, because crypto custody is really the point of entry into the whole blockchain world. And as I outlined here, there might be a reason to go for a cold storage solution, but maybe if your strategy later on changes, this solution might not be a fit anymore, and then you would have to change your solution. So it is really important to look at the technological perspective and possibilities right now, and really analyze how do you want to step into the market, what is a solution here, or what would be a solution, and then also make a plan what will be your activity in the crypto and blockchain world maybe in 5 years, because then it might make sense to think of another solution than that would be required right now for you. And also, as I said, many of those simple crypto custodians, they offer additional services. This could be, for example, that they enable you to participate in, for example, staking, or that they have additionally a tokenization platform with them. So really choosing a good provider here means that you might be able to only have maybe one big integration, and then you have a lot of solutions under your roof. Instead, you might be in the situation that you need an integration for a tokenization platform, integration for custody, and so on. And also, many of the big providers also enable you to several connections to exchanges and brokers and so on. And yeah, you can relieve a lot of pain here if you make a good choice, because as I said, the choice here is very crucial for pretty much all aspects that you deal with in the crypto world. Supported assets is also a big issue. And then maybe as a last comment, what we can also observe is that this holds true in the crypto world. Many investors say, okay, they understand that all those solutions are secure, but they say, what is if? And then insurance comes into play. And here also those providers vary in the type of in types of the insurance scope, the insurance amount, and maybe what is covered and what is not covered, because the risks with all of these solutions, they differ also. So for example, a cold storage solution has other risks associated, because there is some manual intervention. People have to maybe get to a vault and get a stick and bring this online. And when we talk about hardware security modules, for example, or multi-party computation, then there are risks associated with the cryptographic functions into this technology, and insurances have right now at least a tough time to estimate the risks. So the coverage here really is different from provider to provider. And if this is important to you, then of course this is one of the points to consider when deciding for a certain provider. And yes, this would be it from our part, from INTAS.tech. I would now like to turn over to our colleagues from IBM Consulting.
Thank you, Benjamin, for this insightful presentation. I would like to connect to a few points you mentioned. One point was we learned that one of the key challenges is to make sure that only the owner has access to the private key. And therefore, security is mandatory to grow, professionalize, and institutionalize the digital asset business even more. And we thank you also for the basic evaluation of the different scenarios, cold, HSM, and MPC. And we are, as an IBM, we are convinced that we found a very smart and clever way to combine all the advantages of these concepts and to have also full flexibility, but to 100% security. That is our conviction. And we try to focus now not on the technical details of the solution, but we try to focus on the concepts, even though Florian would be very willing to dig into the last bit and byte, but we try to focus on the concept. And these concepts are important to understand, and perhaps afterwards we can wrap up and re-evaluate our solution against the information you told us. And the three concepts and which we want to go through are, you will learn about technical assurance, and Florian will explain what the term means. We will hear about bring your own key, keep your own key, and what is the difference. And we will have more insight into end-to-end security, I would call it. And we are convinced, as I said, that we found a very clever and 110% secure way to safekeep the critical keys and the digital assets. Florian, the stage is yours.
Okay, so let's just dive right into, if we go to the next slide. So there we have this point about operational assurance and technical assurance. Maybe you know, well, why is it that important? Well, if we think about digital assets, we need the highest possible achievable amount of security, because, well, if my asset is gone or if someone else has access to it, I completely lose it, which means if I lose my private part of my key of a Bitcoin, I'm losing about 50,000 euros currently. So we have to make sure that this cannot happen. And there are those two flavors. Well, if you go to a cloud provider or to any service provider, you have the option to have an operational assurance model, which means you trust your provider and you trust just for the contract that he verifies, well, I will not access your data. That is just a contractual way of telling I take it, I make sure that I will protect your asset. But there is always the way that, well, he can have access. So you need to trust him And well, if an asset is gone, it is gone. So by the way, you also have to trust every employee of this service provider. On the opposite side, we have this technical assurance, which means I do not have to trust this provider because it is technically impossible to get access to your data. So that is what we as IBM provide in our cloud services. We provide technical assurance on all services we call IBM HyperProtect. So with that, you can trace what is going on. An IBM Cloud Administrator can maybe power on, power down, or do basic stuff to handle the service or administer the service, but he will not ever get access to the data running inside the service. And that is technically assured. And that is the big advantage we see in our whole portfolio of IBM HyperProtect service we just built. So it is technically impossible for us as IBM, or you can also run them in your own data center, than for your administrators in the company to access or to get access to the data running in those services. Maybe we just go directly to the next slide, where we can see how this will happen. So on the left-hand side, you see a traditional environment in a cloud provider's environment. You see a key management system and the traditional databases, services, whatever this cloud provider has. So there we have those two customers. They all bring their key to the cloud provider. So bring your own key. That is the traditional concept you find in maybe in most cloud providers' environments. The good thing is, well, this is secured in a key management system, but that's the operational assurance part. It is managed by a master key of the cloud provider. So you put your key in a HSM, and there it is secured, but you never have the whole access to the whole HSM. So what we have in contrary to that is we give a key management system and a whole HSM to each and every customer itself, which has the benefit that we as IBM, we do not have access to your master key. You build your own master key in your own key management system or in your own HSM. That's also, we have perfectly isolated all those HSM modules. And with that, you have the ultimate security of owning also the master key of a HSM. And we are currently the only provider that can really give you that in a completely cloud service. If we talk about HSM, we heard before, maybe you will have in mind there is a constraint for the scalability of those. Well, also you have to keep in mind there are different levels of how to certify an HSM. And what we provide, even in our cloud services, with our over 40 years of history with security and encryption, we have the world's only FIPS 140-2 level 4 certified HSM. That's the highest certification you can reach. And we as provider are the only one on this planet who has achieved that. And we just give it into your hand. So you can get this high amount of security and really safeguard it for yourself. For sure, you have all the aspects of an HSM. So inserting your master key, having multiple of those HSMs, and with the level 4 certification, it means that if there is any tampering detected on whatever level, be it a cryo attack, a side channel attack, whatever someone tries, if this is detected, the master keys will zero out in less than 100 microseconds or nanoseconds. So it is impossible to get into the keys that are stored in HSM. And that is, yeah, the best you can have on this planet right now. If we go to the next slide, we will see the bigger picture of what we provide. So we need several aspects to have a really secured digital asset platform. And that's how we call it, IBM HyperTech Digital Asset Platform. So one part is, yeah, take care of the keys. We need secure keys, and that's what we have here with our HSMs that we build on our own. You can have those HSMs in a cloud service called IBM HyperTech Crypto Service. And with that, you can use it and do whatever you want to. Do custody, maybe just encrypt other cloud providers, hardware wallets, maybe just use the keys to secure your VMware environment, you name it. It is, by that, just a hyper secure crypto service. On the other side, if you want to really have a good custody model, you need a layer of a secure execution. So really a confidential computing environment that we also have in the IBM Cloud or even on-prem as called IBM HyperTech Virtual Servers. So with that, you can put into a secure enclave with the amount of up to 16 terabytes, a lot of services the way you want to operate them. The third piece that's also needed for the highest achievable amount of security is, well, you need secure code, right? You don't want to have the best environment, but have leakages in your code. So with that, we introduced the concept of secure image build, which means that when you build something, you just put it into your normal CI/CD pipeline. But in the middle, you have a step of, well, we get your code, we build a manifest, we sign it, we give someone else the possibility to authorize it, to have a look through it, and then sign it also. And with that, you have a fully secured and secured build process. And with a temporary system secure boot, no service will get fired up or up and running if it is not really free of tampering. So only secured and signed software will be run. So with those three parts of a secure key, secure code, and a secure execution environment, you have all the three aspects you need to really run your environment hyper secure. IBM is the technology provider for all of that, and we are keen to help you to really, put your assets in the safest place you can just think of. And do we have some bottlenecks? Well, just as a small glimpse of what we can do, on only one of those machines, we can have up to 2.4 million Docker containers. We can have about 30 billion secure transactions a day. That is more than Google has search requests a day. So we can really achieve a whole lot of amount. So if you have scalability maybe in your mind, that could be an issue, well, we can be sure, no, it is not. We can handle right that. And the whole financial industry just relies on the technologies we've developed over the last decades. And we also bring those technologies right to everyone who is in the fintech area or in the traditional banking area. We just give it into your hand and you can build your services then with that. With that, I want to hand over now to Volker again. He will have a broader picture about what else we do, and to wrap up.
So thank you, Florian. Just to wrap up, I put together IBM's footprint in the blockchain and digital assets arena, and where we provide solutions and help clients with consulting, integration, implementation, and successfully run solutions or whole platforms cross-industry, cross-clients, cross-countries. On the left-hand side, you see a little bit the breakup. Benjamin, I think you made the quote that technology enables platforms, and that is something we do with leading digital asset custody tech platforms. We called it, yeah. I think you used another term, but it's the same thing. One example might be Unbound, Metaco, which is very visible in Switzerland and in Europe. And Metaco uses our described technology as one option to safe keep the keys and the assets. And for example, you can access a Metaco instance via the secure environment Florian just described. So you put a custody solution in it, and you have a safe digital asset custody platform where you can access other platforms. And we are convinced, for example, that we will have hybrid models. Yeah, you will not be. It will not be the final decision now to have to do the custody your own or to access other custody platforms or providers. There will be in the future, depending on the use case, depending on the products, there will be a hybrid model. And one platform can be used for all of these use cases. Either you do tokenization, you do cryptocurrencies, other NFTs, or even the central bank digital money. For everything, every use case, you need platforms like this. We also enabled licensed custodians, for example, Hextrust, which is the leading custodian for digital assets in Asia. We do implementations of, as we said, we call it enterprise blockchain solutions on different technologies, not only Hyperledger Fabric. We have skills in every major technology nowadays. One example might be the WeTrade platform, where we joined the consortium of major European banks to successfully flexibilize and enable the trade finance use case or trade finance platform. And we also have supported implementations of very specific use cases of lendings. We are strong in the payments arena. And for example, we implemented pricing oracles, which is a term to connect the on-chain smart contracts, for example, with the off-chain information which is needed to process the smart contract. So to connect the old and the new world, we're very experienced with this. And that is our footprint. And as Florian says, we are convinced that we found a very clever and flexible and highly secure solution to enable this kind of platforms. And we would be happy to answer some questions, or if you have interest in more information in a deep dive technically, or if you have interesting projects, yeah, you're free to either ask now questions. I think we have a chat functionality, or you raise your hand in the call, or afterwards you see the contact details, or via LinkedIn. We would be happy to connect to your ideas and projects.
Yeah, Volker, Florian, thanks. I don't know, Benjamin, do we have some questions in the chat or currently not? So then I have just one message. Thank you for joining. I'm quite convinced that we could give you a very good overview regarding the key topic, digital asset custody. And I think that the colleagues from IBM presented us a very interesting alternative to the other potentially more known, currently in Germany at least, solutions. I think very often the IBM is inside of some solutions. On one hand side, there's a very high secure solution, as we learned. And I think it would totally make sense if you are thinking about a kind of vendor analysis to get in touch with the IBM colleagues and or with us from INTAS to help you to find the right solution together with IBM or some competitors of them. So again, thanks a lot for joining. Thanks for your time. I hope we could give some good impulse for you to find the right solution, and feel free, as Volker already said, to get in touch with us if there are some follow-ups to be scheduled, or if there are some open issues to raise. We are happy to connect and happy to help you. Take care, stay healthy, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.